Hi, I am Gail of 876 Documents, and I help Jamaicans in the US obtain their passports and birth certificates, marriage certificates, stuff like that. I know I added TRN. Check out my TikTok. I talked about TRN in two of my last videos. These videos I talked about, getting to know me, and I talked about growing up in the country or spending my long holidays in the country, and how much those days were pivotal in my life, and how much I actually enjoyed that experience, and how much I've learned from being privileged enough to have enjoyed that experience. But I talked about growing up in St. Elizabeth with my grandmother, my mother's side, but I've never talked about growing up in St. Thomas. I was actually born in St. Thomas, and of course, like I said in my previous video, my mom took us to live with our grandmother while she worked in the city, which was the case back in the day for many parents. St. Thomas is a whole different kettle of fish. I was born in an area in St. Thomas called Erie Castle, and a part of Erie Castle called Island. I was actually born in Grasset, but Grasset is at the back part of Island. But I was born on a tiny island in Erie Castle in St. Thomas. I can't tell you how cool that is. And it's actually an island. You have to cross a bridge. And I'm not talking like a little footbridge precariously hanging by somewhere. I'm talking about a proper, concrete path bridge with metal rails on both sides. A proper bridge over a river where we used to catch janga and cook and wash. We used to wash plate. We used to build. And we catch janga. I hope my father is not watching. He's turning in his bed right now if he's seeing this. But growing up in St. Thomas, one of the most amazing things about being in St. Thomas is all the fruits. Now, the river was amazing, which run right past my house. And we live on a little hill. And the river would run down to this back part that I've never gone to. But then a little bit down the road, there was a little stream, which we call it a spring. And the water was coming out of the rock. And when I tell you that water was spring water, has nothing on that water. That water was cool. It was delicious. It was always cold. And it was so delicious. We used to drink the water straight from out of the rock. When I tell you. But one of the best things about St. Thomas was all the fruits. Now, I know I talked about fruits in St. Elizabeth, but where I lived, we had jackfruit tree. I think St. Thomas and Portland may be one of the most abundant for fruits, merely because of how much water there is everywhere. St. Elizabeth is extremely dry as a parish, but St. Thomas has water everywhere. So we had a jackfruit tree right top side of the house, as we say in the country, and they would just drop boof. And I don't care who is going to be mad about this, but me not like jackfruit. Me not like it. I've had the jackfruit seed boiled, and it's not bad. And jackfruit flesh doesn't taste bad. I was just so annoyed by it. Like, it's this gigantic fruit, but you have to go in and pull out that one little piece of flesh from all the other parts that look also like flesh. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, what part of it am I supposed to be eating? I got annoyed with it because it's too much. So I don't like jackfruit. I've eaten it, but I don't love it. And it's cloying too. I only need one little peg and I'm done. But there were apple trees. I don't know if you've ever seen apple trees in bloom, the Jamaican apple trees blooming, but they are beautiful. The ground used to be covered everywhere with pink and white. Like, oh my goodness, if you've never seen an apple tree bloom, you have missed something. The ground would be all red or pink or whatever you want to call it. And the apples were so sweet because they got a chance to ripe on the tree. Not like the ones that I buy by the side of the road now when I'm driving to the country when I'm in Jamaica. They were sweet because they ripe on the tree. And then there was sugar cane. And we didn't have as much mango in St. Thomas. I will say that. I thought being in the East, we would have had more East Indians. But anyway, we had everything else. We had bananas. We had everything. When I used to go to the country and we used to spend the shorter holidays in St. Thomas because it was 2 hours away. As soon as school would end, we'd be on the bus either the Friday night or the Saturday morning to go to St. Thomas. Oh my God. Get off at Morant Bay and then take a taxi to Port Morant where my sister lived, or go straight to Erie Castle to my grandmother's house. God rest Miss Pretty's soul. But and then my cousins Tracy and Vivette and Leon and Kayan. Oh my God, it was so amazing. And then our friend Cheryl. But it was just a whole vibe. We used to go to the rivers, and then I used to actually go to the banana board with my grandmother. The banana board was where they washed and boxed the bananas to be sent. I didn't know where they were sending them at the time, but I'm just going to assume it was overseas to the US. But at the banana board where my grandmother used to work, and a lot of people used to work, we would get the bananas, we would cut them off the hands, would cut them off the limbs, and then we would wash them nice to get all the stain off, get off a little tip, the thing off a little tip, and then we would put the whole hand in the box and dry them and lay them out nicely in the box, and they would come on this little conveyor belt. And yes, I used to box banana at the banana board. But yeah, and then we used to like go to this little pond, I'm gonna call it, and my friend, God rest her soul, would tell us that there were what you call them, mermaids. She told us that there was mermaid in the water, and as I live and breathe, we believed her because we were kids, we were naive. She says, and she would point of a piece of half of a comb, and she'd be like, that's the mermaid's comb. And it never occurred to me that the mermaid only had a half of a broken comb. Like, where's the rest of your comb? But I believed her. I always thought I would see that mermaid, and she was a very unassuming person, very quiet. So why would I not believe her that there's mermaid in the water? I've never seen it, and she told you so solemnly that there was mermaid, and we had no reason to doubt her. I've never seen those mermaids, but I've only, I still believe they could be there, and we just never saw them, but I'm going to let that rest. But anyway, growing up one of the best experiences I had growing up in St. Thomas was with my dad, because St. Thomas is my dad's parish. My dad is Rastafarian, which I'm very proud of. And my dad used to wake us up early in the mornings when we were there to walk to the Bath Fountain. And this was before Bath Fountain became overpolluted with everybody trying to hustle. We used to go to Bath Fountain early in the morning. We used to walk from Erie Castle. It's a long walk from Erie Castle to get to Sunning Hill, to get to Bath Fountain. But we used to get up early, and my dad would make us, all of us, walk. My dad had 7 kids. I have 5 sisters. So my dad, I think it'd be like maybe even 6 of us, 5 of us, however many of us were there, because my dad used to love having his kids around him. And we would walk all the way to Bath Fountain. We would take a little precarious path on the side of the hill to go down to the water. That was before everybody was trying to beat. Maybe you had one back-beating person there, not as many as you have right now. And the water was a little heavier. It was hot. We were like, oh my God, everybody should know the story of Bath Fountain. If you don't know the story, look it up on TikTok. I'm not going to tell the story of Bath Fountain about the slave that escaped and was healed by the water. But we used to walk there, and I can't express how much all of those experiences meant to me. Then we'd get our bath, and then we would walk back from Bath Fountain, and we would scatter out. I had an aunt in Sunning Hill, but we would like walk at different paces. Some of us would probably get a ride, and whatever ride came, we jumped on it. The rest of us might walk. We're all walking at different paces because by now we're tired, and we had to walk all the way back to Sunning Hill and into Erie Castle. But that was an amazing experience for me. Right now, I love walking. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But yeah, that was my experience growing up in St. Thomas. We used to have all our friends there. And we used to go to a lot of parties. I don't know if we went to more parties in St. Elizabeth than St. Thomas. We used to go to a party at Vineyard. We used to go to the fair at the Erie Castle Primary School, or was it an all-age school? But I have had so many experiences that I can't even remember just walking on the street and where we were coming from when we just stopped and picked guava on the side of the road and pomegranate. Now I pay $2.50 for one pomegranate, or $5, and $10 for a little bottle of pomegranate juice. And we would just walk on the side of the road and just pick it off the tree and just eat it right there. Especially the guava. I couldn't tell the last time I had a guava. I have guava flavored juices, which I know is just the essence of guava. But yeah, I think I'm not the kind of person who looks back. I'm not a sentimental person per se, but those experiences for me growing up in the country was everything. Like everything. Like I said in my other video, in college, I drew reference from my experience growing up in Jamaica when I wrote papers. I remember one famous paper I wrote was about adolescence at a childhood stage, as a life stage, and how that did not exist. And for me, childhood did not exist in Jamaica. You were just a person. You got up, you helped your grandmother's plant, you tied the goat. Tonight, somebody asked me if I ever milked a goat. Of course I have. You can't be in the country and not having not ever milked an animal. But yeah, I really enjoy those experiences. They bring me absolute joy. And when I went to Jamaica, even in June of this year, 2022, I actually went to St. Mary, Portland, went to St. Thomas, stopped in Morant Bay. I will never talk about what happened in Morant Bay, but it was an experience. But the roads were very bad though. But it just brought everything back for me. Being in Mark Bay town, stopping to buy patty in the town, like just brought everything back for me. I remember going to parties at License Beach and listening to Miller Construction. Like if you if Miller Construction still play and you know them, give me a thumbs up. If you have gone to License Beach to parties where Miller Construction was playing, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know. But yeah, like I said, those experiences fill me with so much joy. If you have an experience like this, share it. If you grew up in St. Thomas and you know these places I am mentioning, please share your experience. Give me some comment. Let me know what's up. So anyway, I am Gail of 876 Documents. I help Jamaicans in the U.S. obtain their passports, birth certificates, marriage certificates, TRN, individual TRNs, and those documents. I'm a document preparer. I have a new website. It's www.876documents.com. Pretty straightforward. Give 876 Documents a call if you need help with your Jamaican documents. I am Gail. I thank you for going with me on this little trip down memory lane. Thank you for watching.